HTML and CSS. Now today we're going to take a look at horizontal menus. We've already taken a look at vertical menus, but I want to take a look at how you can make a horizontal menu and span it horizontally, left to right. So if you're looking for a very wide menu, this is the tutorial to watch. All right, so from our previous video, if you haven't seen it, go back and take a look at it. We've created this vertical menu that we can go ahead and roll over, and now we have a vertical menu. Now, in order to create a horizontal menu, I'll just simply go ahead and move this a little bit up at the top since we'll be spanning things wider. Now, in order to create this, again, I'm still using the UL or unordered list, and then I have my LI tags in there, and then the anchor tags or anchor links right in there. So I still have this kind of created right there. So what I need to do in order to create a horizontal menu is I'm going to get rid of that width. And you can see how now all of a sudden this menu that's a vertical menu actually spans completely wide. Okay, so I need to get rid of that. If I don't get rid of that, you'll see what the problem is. Okay, the next step, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the display for the ULLI rule over here. So that way the LI tags basically are displayed in line. Okay, so that's going to be the next step. So once I have this displayed in line, the next thing I want to do is I'll float everything to the left. Okay, so now you can see how that's slowly starting to create shape right there. So you can see we're displayed in line and floating left, so everything gets pushed left, left, left. Now the problem again, as I mentioned, this width 225, if I get rid of that width 225, there we go. That's our basically horizontal menu right there at the top. And as we roll over, it has that same functionality. Now, one of the things that you could do when it comes to this also is, let's just say you go ahead and for every LI element, you could do a border right, and I'll just say 1 pixel solid number CCC. Okay, and you can see now there's just like a slight little spacer right there. If I'm also having a little bit of trouble and I want this to be a little wider in between each one, because when it comes to a horizontal menu, there's a little bit of a problem. So I can go ahead and adjust this padding. So instead of just 15, I could do padding 15 on top and bottom. But let's say I go 30 on the right and left. And now you can see that kind of widens things out. I typically play with the padding. You could go ahead and play with the height. And let's say I do like 35 pixels on this. And then I'll do also a line height of 35 pixels. And you could do it this way to make it a little more precise. But for me, I like playing with more of the padding side of things. And that just helps make things a little bit neater for me and my taste. But sometimes you do need to input that height and line height property within those LI or the anchor link elements right there. So you can see how that menu ultimately works. And if I zoom in at 100%, that's exactly the size of it. If I want to get rid of the border bottom right there, I could go ahead and get rid of that right there. So now I just have a simple little menu. If you want something a little bit differently on the rollover, let's just say a border bottom, let's do this. Border bottom 3 pixel solid, we'll do black. Okay, so right now you have a black bottom, but what we're going to do is we're going to have it black only on maybe that rollover or a yellow. And what I need to do is then set the background color to be the same. So I'll have that border bottom, but then I'll also include it in the rollover. And the color that I'm going to use, actually, let's make it more like a yellow tone or something a little bit different so that stands out. So how about, let's see here, how about something like this yellow color? This should work. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put that in here. And as we do a quick little refresh, as you can see, as I roll over, it changes it to that blue with a yellow underneath. Maybe that's not the best choice. So why don't I go ahead and what'll stand out from that blue? How about an orange color? So maybe you can see it a little bit better. Right here, we'll pick this orange color right there. I'll go ahead, make that adjustment right there. And now you can see that orange on the bottom. Just so you can see things a little bit better, I'll go ahead and change that to 8 pixels. I'll also go ahead and change that to 8 pixels. And then you can see that orange on the bottom on that rollover effect. Now the one problem, of course, when you add a border on the bottom is you can see it also creates a little bit of a distance problem right here, comparing it to what's above. And that is simply because of that additional border that we added. In order to compensate this, what I can do is adjust that padding. So I can reduce that padding on the top and or on the bottom. So what I have now is a padding of 10 and 10 on top and bottom, but on the bottom I also have that border. So what I need to do is ultimately leave the top padding, and then what I'll do is change the bottom. So we have top right, we'll change the bottom to only 2 pixels, and then we'll include a left right there. So now, as you can see, that kind of helps adjust things, makes that a little bit more vertically centered. And now you can see as I do the rollover, you can see that border on the bottom as well. And there is pretty much our horizontal menu within CSS and HTML using the UL, or the unordered list property. If you'd like to span it more across, I could go ahead and include it in the div tag or even a nav tag right there. So meaning our navigation with HTML5. So I'll go ahead and span that right there. And the next thing I'll do is I'll go ahead at the top and type in nav, and I'll do background, and the background color I want to use is the same that we have the green over there, which I'm just going to pull that background color from right here. Okay, let's take it to the top. Go ahead, and now as I go ahead and save it, let me just see why that's not showing up. So we have a nav right there. So now what I can do is type in border, and here's one of the ways to diagnose problems. Pixel, 1 pixel, solid red. And you'll probably see that the overlay property is missing. So that red is not spanning there. So again, I've mentioned the overlay property in the past, and this is how you fix this. And you go overflow, not overlay, but overflow, and you could say auto, or you could say display or show, but in this case, we're going to go with auto, and you can see how that now works really well. And now I can get rid of that red border. So that's why sometimes using those borders works ultimately fantastic. And that's how you create a nice horizontal menu, and also how you find and figure out a glitch. Simply because of doing those inline elements, you can see how that glitch comes up and is created. Thanks for sticking around, and I hope you found this lesson helpful. Now, there's one thing that you can do for yourself, and that is to subscribe to my newsletter list, because when you're on my newsletter list, that's where I share all the exclusive training material. It's with my newsletter members.